Rainbow Reflections, Book 2, Put Out the Fire, Chapter 28, The Rain Stopped Falling.
Wherever you go, I'll find you!
Zin shoved the slick leaves aside as they heard the high voice. That's Kaokat, isn't it? Who are they talking to? Oh no, what if it's Ren? They hurried through the foliage, ignoring C3's call to slow down for the teacher's sakes. Zin soon broke through the plants, the academy coming in sight. Instead of a moat around the buildings, a giant stone wall blocked the entrance. But Zin didn't focus on the transformed landscape, instead staring at the three figures 50 meters away. Dad! They rushed forward, forgetting that Kaokat had been in the area. Hyaktu glanced over at them, his face weary and his clothing tattered. But he smiled at once upon seeing his child. Sarella and Jabali stood on either side of Hyaktu, looking tired and dirty. Both of them weren't paying any attention to Zin, gazing elsewhere, probably for Kaokat. Remembering the spirit, Zin slid to a halt in their tracks and glanced around too. Before they could take a good look, the ground shook violently and threw them off their feet. The grumbling didn't last long, and Zin glanced up to see that the stone in front of the school's entrance had been placed down, making the ground level once more. 3 people stood in the entrance hall, 2 of them wearing robes that marked them as important. But Zin ignored the agents, focusing entirely on their sister. Ren, I hope she's okay after Sarella's attack. Zin shifted uncomfortably, still hardly able to believe that they allowed Sarella to do such a thing to their sister, even after the friction that had appeared between them. I'm sorry. Ren made to move forward, but one of the officials grabbed her wrist to keep her from running out. The other one stepped forward and said crisply, Hyaktu Saihon, the school is officially shut down. Zin snapped their gaze to the 2 agents, their hearts skipping a beat. No, they can't do that. Not after we rescue the teachers. Hyaktu got to his feet slowly, his neon violet eyes on the government's personnel. He walked gradually across the scattered water to the doors, trying to wipe the mud off him as he went. Jabali and Sarella remained in place, looking shocked. Zin was gaping too, and forgot that they were still on the squishy ground. They got to their feet and glanced over their shoulder at the other teens and teachers behind them. C3 and Mint, who were holding up the corpse-looking Aster, both wore deep frowns on their faces. Kershid and Fern, in better condition than Aster and able to stand on their own, appeared worried. Zin returned their gaze to the government personnel. Hyaktu now stood in front of them, words seeming to fail him as the silence pressed. Finally, the same person spoke again. You have been lying about the state of the school. Hyaktu dipped his head and made no response to the honest accusation. We arrived to see the only adults left were cooks, and all of them had no idea you or the other teachers had left. The second agent dragged Ren forward. We had to deal with a child when we came, they growled. A child who had no idea where any of you were. Let her go. Zin's lip curled back as they glared at the person holding their sister, and they started walking forward without realizing that their feet were carrying them. I have all my teachers accounted for, Hyaktu said after a small pause. The students are safe, and... You have no case here, Saihon, the second agent snapped. Surely we can... Silence! We will be investigating exactly what happened here, the first person continued irritably. And when we discover your lies, you can rest assured you'll be rotting in prison. Alarmed, Zin stopped in their tracks. In prison? Anger simmered through them, and they took several shaky steps forward until they stood beside their father. Hyaktu glanced sidelong at them, a wary look in his eyes. Before he could warn them against speaking, Zin blew up. How dare you accuse him of anything? Zin snarled. He didn't mean for any of this to happen. He didn't do anything wrong. He's been working so hard to make sure things ran smoothly despite the problems popping up. You can't do this. We can and we will, the second person growled. Now shut up, child. No, this isn't right. You can't just... They felt a tug on their rope as Hyaktu pulled them back. Zin rounded on him. What are you doing? Keeping you from doing something stupid you'll regret the rest of your life, Hyaktu growled. You're calling me stupid now? Zin hissed, their fury boiling over. No, but you keep acting so impulsively, and expelling you has done nothing to make you think before you act. You should be happy I even went out to rescue you and the other teachers. I could have handled the situation. No, you couldn't. I escaped on my own, and I would have rescued the—
Sure, Zin spat. You don't even care that we risked our lives for you. You don't even care about us, do you?
That's not true, Hyaktu growled, his eyes both furious and alarmed.
Zin, you're taking this too far,
Ren murmured numbly, still being held by the government agent.
I'm taking this too far?
Zin growled.
But it's true, isn't it? Actually, no. You're right, Ren. He cares about you. You're perfect, aren't you? You do whatever he says, you ace all of your classes, you never cause issues, you even had 2 elemental magics to make up for the lack of mine. You're the perfect child.
Rage surged through their whole body as the suppressed thoughts raced forward.
And Sorella's the child you've always wanted, isn't she?
They spat at Hyaktu, catching sight of Sorella standing in the background.
A great martial artist to follow in your footsteps, what you always wanted of us. Ren's good at martial arts, but not like Sorella, who's just so perfect with her form and technique. And she at least knows how to fight, unlike me, your failure of a child.
Zin, Ren mumbled. Zin ignored her, glaring at their father through their hot tears.
You probably wish he never got me, don't you? You always look at me in disappointment, wondering why I can't do anything right, wondering why I can't be more like you, or Ren, or Sorella, or even C3. I'm sure even C3 makes you happier than I ever could, with his interest in spirits and how smart he is, and Mint being such a talented potion maker that she was able to fill in for Fern.
Zin waved their hands at C3 and Mint, both looking mightily uncomfortable being brought up.
But me, I'm nobody, I'm nothing. I'd be useless if I never figured out how to do enchantment magic or spirit magic or whatever this is.
They kicked the ground bitterly, splashing mud in all directions. They were unable to contain their emotions any longer, the world blurring around them as if it was still raining.
All year, you've just held me back. You never bothered to explain my magic to me. It was Kershid who told me about having spirit magic, and C3 guessed it too. But you knew all along, didn't you?
They yowled furiously, dropping to the ground to grab mud and hurl it at Hyaktu. Hyaktu stood in place quietly, doing nothing to block the sludge flying at him. Ren gasped, while the other teens and adults watched uncertainly. Kershid took a step forward, like he wanted to interfere, but then he stopped in his tracks.
You don't care at all about me, do you?
Zin howled, jumping to their feet again and throwing a large handful of mud at Hyaktu.
What did I ever do to you? Why do you hate me?
Their voice cracked as the words escaped their throat. They stopped ranting, their chest heaving as they stared helplessly at the man they called their father. Hyaktu continued to gaze at them silently from beneath the mud dripping off him.
You don't even care enough to say, do you?
Zin mumbled in numbed shock. Hyaktu opened his mouth, then closed it again. He sighed, wiping the mud from his face.
What? Can't think of an adequate lie to make me shut up?
Zin growled, their lip curling back.
Well, I don't want to hear it. Not anymore. I might be useless, but I'm no longer taking your stupid lies. Because no matter what I do, I'll never be good enough for you.
They shoved past the man and towards the forest, slightly surprised that Hyaktu didn't grab them before they could escape. But they continued briskly, giving Jabali and Sorella a wide berth. Jabali reached a hand forward, as if wanting to grab Zin, but seemed to think better of it as he let his hand fall again. Sorella stared at Zin like she was seeing them for the first time. Zinovis! Zin came to a stop in their tracks by the edge of the forest, their breathing shallow. They tried to slow it down, but it kept catching in their chest. Zinovis, get back here! Hyaktu's voice called behind them. Let's talk this out! They swiveled around, glaring at their father across the ponds of water. Hyaktu's expression was unreadable from afar. The others all stared at Zin, uneasy and uncertain. Kershid took several steps forward, but Zin reacted before the tall man could reach them.
I'm not talking with you!
Zin snarled.
Leave me alone! You're not my father!
Ren gasped audibly. Kershid stopped, his face alarmed. C3 gaped openly at Zin, as Mint began wailing incomprehensibly. Zinovis, get back here, Hyaktu said. Zin's whole body was shaking as if they were nervous. But they were far from it, their blood pounding in their ears, their whole body as hot as the sun peeking from the clouds above. I can explain everything—
Leave me alone!
Zin screamed, their voice drowning out Hyaktu's words. Before they knew what they were doing, they whipped their stick from their robe pocket. They swirled it, the fire bursting in front of them. Zin threw hot flames in all directions, a blind rage consuming them. Zinovis! Hyaktu shouted, moving forward at last. Stop what you're—
Leave me alone! Zin!
They ignore their sister as she lurched forward, trying to break free of the agent's grasp. Zin merely kept swirling the stick, not caring if the blaze burned them or the others in front of them. They didn't care about anything, the world flashing scarlet around them. Ren pulled her wand from her robe with her free hand, but instead of aiming at the agent holding her, she pointed at the pools of water on the ground. She directed the water forward, the wave putting out Zin's fire at once.
Please, Zin, stop! Let's talk!
Why? Zin snarled at her.
He doesn't care about me. For all we know, he only cares about you because you're some spirit. That's not true,
Ren said, the government agent letting go of her in astonishment. She hurried forward and added,
Dad loves us very much, whether we're spirits or not. I bet he just wants you for the same reason Kaokat wants you,
Zin went on hysterically, slamming their stick to the ground to create another fire.
He doesn't love us! Yes, he does,
Ren choked out, her voice wavering as she got nearer. Zin urged the fire forward. The blaze ate hungrily at the ground, despite it being so soggy. The flames quickly moved towards Hyaktu, the only person in their line of sight. Khurshid jumped forward, using his air magic to suck the oxygen from the flames. Ren swiftly threw water at Zin's fire too, before more damage could be done. Zin's lip curled back. You chose him over me.
Zin, no!
Ren's voice echoed in their head, sounding as alarmed as the look on her face.
This isn't about sides, this...
Zin shut her out. I don't belong. They turned on the balls of their feet and headed for the forest, the stick hanging loosely at their side. Ren raced forward again, making it past Sarala and Jabali still standing in the middle of the path. Khurshid waved his hand swiftly through the air in front of him, using his magic to pull Ren back. She struggled against the magical hold, but it was to no avail. Hyaktu took several steps forward, but didn't make it far.
Go away!
Zin yelled, raising the stick in front of them again. Hyaktu frowned deeply, his lip trembling as he halted in his tracks. Tears streaked down his cheeks. Zin. Enough, child! The first government agent suddenly snarled, leaving the shelter of the school. You will be arrested and...
Leave me alone!
Several things happened at once. Zin slammed the stick against the ground again, creating a giant wall of fire between them and their family. Before the flames could go up, they saw the government agent throw a giant rock Zin's way. Yet Hyaktu caught the stone and slammed it back at the agent. Jabali and Fern ran to Hyaktu's side. Khurshid released Ren and joined her as she ran towards Zin. C3 and Sarala followed, though Mint just crumbled to the ground in a wailing mess.
Zin!
Ren's voice called desperately above the roaring flames.
We're just trying to help. Please let us help. Put out the fire. Put out the fire.
Zin slammed the stick several more times, not allowing Ren's water to drop again, not permitting Khurshid's air to suck the life from their flames, not allowing the government agents to throw rocks through. The water splashed down, the air sucked, but it wasn't enough to wipe out the blaze. Satisfied the fire would hold for at least a while, Zin was about to turn away and slip through the plants behind them, deaf to the screams beyond. Then, they saw a face flickering in the blaze. They frowned and peered closer, realizing the face was their own distorted reflection. Or was it? Zin tilted their head, and the flickering reflection did the same. But the color of the eyes, despite being less saturated in the burning orange, was wrong. Their eyes should be purple and green, but the fire only reflected 2 green eyes back at them.
Zin, please put the fire down,
Ren called. Zin turned away from the odd image. They closed their eyes, not caring what color they might be, and hurried into the forest. The smell of burning grass was becoming stronger than the scent of mud and rain-washed plants. Make me invisible! Make me invisible! They opened their eyes and lifted their hands in front of them, seeing nothing at all. Satisfied, Zin continued onward at a brisk pace, the stick still clutched tightly in their hand. Ren's voice faded from their head. I don't belong here. I'm nobody.